Tell me, brother, when was the last time you sat in silence and truly asked yourself, does she even think of me now that I'm gone? The truth is unsettling, isn't it? You imagine her laughing at someone else's jokes, scrolling through her phone without even a flicker of memory of you. You wonder if your absence even registers in her heart, or if you were always just a temporary chapter in her story. And here you sit, restless, torn between waiting for her to miss you and questioning if she ever will. But what if I told you, her missing you doesn't begin when you expect it, and it never starts where your pride wants it to? What if I told you the exact moment she starts to feel your absence is tied to a law deeper than love, deeper than desire? It is tied to nature itself. Listen carefully. A woman does not miss the man who hovers, who begs, who clings to the ghost of her attention. No, she misses the man who vanishes into his own strength, the one who becomes a storm within himself, a fortress untouched by her silence. Because in truth, longing is born not in presence, but in absence. She cannot ache for what has never left. Only when you withdraw, fully, without announcement, without bitterness, does her mind begin to search for you in the quiet moments she cannot control. That is when memory begins to whisper. That is when the image of you invades her unguarded thoughts. But here's the twist, and it cuts like a blade. She will not miss you because of what you gave her while you were near. She will miss you because of what you withhold when you are gone. Your silence becomes louder than your words, your absence more powerful than your touch. And if you truly want to master yourself, to become a man who is never enslaved by the whims of a woman, you must understand this truth. She begins to miss you not when you collapse, but when you rise, not when you chase, but when you vanish. And brother, most men will never have the discipline to disappear. Will you? Think of it this way. A flame cannot be seen in daylight, but the moment the night falls, its light becomes impossible to ignore. You are that flame. While you remain in her constant reach, your presence blinds her. She sees you, but she does not feel you. She hears your voice, but it carries no weight. Familiarity dulls your value, the same way a man who drinks from a flowing river no longer notices how precious each drop is. It is only when the water is cut off, when the stream runs dry, that thirst is awakened. This is the exact moment a woman begins to feel the echo of your absence. The same hand she took for granted now becomes a ghost that lingers in her memory. But here is what most men cannot stomach. Your absence must be complete. Not a trick, not a performance. It must be real. A withdrawal rooted in discipline, not manipulation. Because if you vanish outwardly but secretly wait for her call, your energy betrays you. She feels your weakness through the cracks of your silence. But if you vanish into purpose, into self-mastery, into your own becoming, then your absence transforms into a force that pulls her mind back against her will. This is the paradox. She will not miss you until you no longer need her to. Do you understand the gravity of this? The very moment you stop chasing her memory is the moment her memory begins to chase you. Her mind, once filled with noise, starts to clear. And in that clearing, images of you resurface, the way you spoke, the calm in your eyes, the certainty of your step. She begins to wonder, was he truly gone? Did I misjudge his worth? Did I lose something irreplaceable? And these questions, left unanswered, plant seeds of longing she cannot silence. You must learn this as Marcus Aurelius learned in war. The greatest power lies not in striking, but in restraint. A general who retreats with discipline terrifies the enemy more than the one who charges recklessly. So too must you retreat, vanish with dignity, withdraw without resentment. And in time, she will feel your absence not as a gap, but as a wound that only your presence could ever fill. You must understand something essential about human nature. People do not miss what is always within reach. A man who is constantly available is like air, necessary but unnoticed. She breathes you in without thought, never realizing the value of what sustains her. But when the air thins, when the lungs begin to strain, panic sets in. Suddenly, every breath becomes precious. This is when missing begins, when the abundance is taken away and the absence strikes harder than any presence ever could. A woman will not admit this. She will distract herself. She will laugh louder, post more often, fill her time with noise and faces and shallow comforts. But beneath the surface, a shadow begins to stretch. It is not loneliness at first, it is unease. Something feels off. Something she once counted on is no longer there. She brushes it aside, tells herself it doesn't matter, but the silence grows heavier each day. This is the seed of missing you, and it only grows when she realizes you are not waiting in the background for her to notice. Here lies the razor's edge. If you break the silence, if you check in, if you peek around the corner to see if she still remembers you, you shatter the illusion. You remind her that you are still orbiting her world and she feels no loss. But if you remain still, if you remain vanished, her own mind begins to betray her. She starts to create versions of you in her head, versions that are stronger, calmer, more mysterious than the man she once knew. She begins to miss not just who you were, but who she now imagines you to be. And brother, imagination is far more powerful than reality. This is why the Stoics taught that mastery of the self is greater than mastery of others. By holding the line of silence, you do not just discipline her perception, you discipline yourself. You teach your spirit that your worth does not crumble without her validation, and that unshakable calm becomes magnetic. She will miss you most, not when you are near, not when you are begging to be remembered, but when you are far beyond her reach, living as if her memory of you is nothing but a whisper. At first, she feels nothing. That is the truth most men cannot accept. The silence feels like victory to her. She tells herself she has won, that you are the one suffering, pacing in your loneliness, craving her return. She may even laugh about it, share her confidence with friends, post pictures that suggest she has moved on. And many men, watching this, break too soon. They collapse under the illusion, thinking she has forgotten them. But Marcus Aurelius once said, "Time is a river. What flows today is never what flows tomorrow." The second stage begins with irritation. She notices your absence not because she misses you yet, but because she expected you to orbit her. She wonders why you are not checking her stories, why you have not reached out, why you seem unaffected. It bruises her ego, and for the first time she feels a sting, small but sharp. This irritation grows into confusion. She thought she had you measured. She thought she could predict your next move. But your silence breaks the script, and suddenly her certainty begins to crack. The third stage is curiosity. She replays old conversations. She scrolls back through photos, through texts, through memories she thought she had buried. At night, when the world quiets, she feels the echo of your absence. Her mind, once so busy with distractions, drifts back to you, not because you forced it, but because your silence gave her no alternative. Curiosity turns into questioning. Did I lose something valuable? Was he stronger than I thought? Did I underestimate him? And these questions gnaw at her more than your presence ever could. Then comes the fourth stage, and this is where missing you becomes undeniable. The irritation, the confusion, the curiosity, they merge into longing. Now she begins to ache. Not for the man who begged, not for the man who lingered, but for the man who disappeared with quiet strength. She misses the stability you brought, the certainty of your presence, and most painfully, she misses the reflection of herself in your eyes. She misses the way you made her feel, and now she cannot recreate it on her own. This is the cruel paradox of absence. You do not become larger in her life when you try to remind her of your worth. You become larger when you erase yourself completely, and her memory paints you in sharper colors than reality ever did. Here is the tragedy. Just when her mind begins to wander back to you, just when the silence is finally working in your favor, most men destroy everything. They panic. They mistake patience for weakness. They see a post, hear a rumor, or feel the weight of their own loneliness, and they break. They send that message. They call late at night. They reach out under the guise of just checking in. And in that instant, the spell shatters. She is reminded that you are still there, waiting. And what happens to something that is waiting? It is taken for granted. You must see how fragile this moment is. A single gesture of weakness returns her to comfort. Instead of missing you, she feels reassured. She no longer needs to wonder, to question, to imagine. You gave her the answer she secretly wanted. You are still within her control, and the ache she was beginning to feel dissolves instantly. This is why so many men never experience the full power of absence, because they cannot master themselves. They crumble under the illusion of strength she displays, when in reality she was loser than ever to remembering your worth. Marcus Aurelius taught that the battlefield of the mind is where all victories are won or lost. This is your battlefield. Every urge to reach out is a test of your discipline. Every moment of silence is a sharpening of your spirit. To break it prematurely is to betray not just your strategy, but your own growth. You must remember this. Her missing you is not the reward. Your transformation in her absence is the reward. Her longing is only a shadow of the man you become when you no longer seek her validation. So when the silence grows heavy, when your chest aches with the desire to break it, hold the line. That pain is not your enemy. It is the proof that you are evolving, that you are stepping beyond the ordinary man who crumbles. And when you hold the silence long enough, something remarkable happens. Her longing intensifies, while your dependence dissolves. She begins to miss you more, while you need her less. This is the turning point, the moment where power shifts completely. Most men will never reach it. Will you? Understand this clearly. Silence is not just absence, it is transformation. When you step away from her world, you step into your own. At first, it feels like emptiness, like a void pressing down on your chest. But what is a void except space waiting to be filled? Most men run from this space, rushing back to her presence to avoid confronting themselves. But the few who endure it, the few who remain still, begin to fill that space with something greater: discipline, strength, clarity. And as you grow, she begins to feel the difference. When she thinks of you, she expects the man she left behind, the one who was eager, restless, always available. But in your silence, you evolve into someone else entirely. Your energy shifts, your presence, even from afar, becomes heavier. She senses it without words. A man rooted in his own purpose radiates differently. And though she cannot put it into language, she feels it. Your absence is no longer weakness, it is power. And power is always missed. This is why missing you is not really about her at all. It is about who you become when she no longer has access to you. If you waste your silence in waiting, in obsessing, in measuring her response, you have not grown, you have only hidden. But if you use it to sharpen yourself, to pursue your craft, to build your body, to strengthen your spirit, then the man she remembers no longer exists. In his place stands someone she did not expect, someone she cannot control, and that is what ignites longing in her heart. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your silence, your restraint, is not the end of the story. It is the path itself. It is the training ground where you harden your will, where you learn that your worth is not tied to her attention. And the irony is this: when you finally no longer need her to miss you, that is when she begins to miss you the most. Because women, like all people, are drawn not to desperation, but to mystery. And nothing is more mysterious, nothing more magnetic than a man who walks away without looking back. There comes a moment, subtle yet undeniable, when her longing transforms from a passing thought into a consuming ache. At first, she brushes it away. She convinces herself she doesn't care, that she's above it. But the mind is a traitor. It remembers. It remembers the sound of your voice, the calm in your eyes, the way you stood in a room with quiet certainty. And as days turn into weeks, the silence you left behind becomes deafening. What once felt like freedom now feels like emptiness. This is the moment her longing reaches its peak, when the memory of you grows larger than your presence ever was. It does not happen instantly. It is born through time. Time is the soil where desire grows, but only if you refuse to water it with your weakness. Every day you remain silent. Every hour you resist reaching out, her mind works against her. She begins to replay every detail, every flaw, every strength. She recalls not only who you were, but who she imagines you to be now. And that imagined version of you, the one who has grown stronger, sharper, more disciplined, becomes more desirable than reality. This is the cruel genius of absence. You no longer exist as you were, but as an ideal she cannot hold. Patience is the blade that carves this transformation. Most men cannot endure it. They fold when the silence grows heavy, when doubt poisons their resolve. But the man who waits, who holds his ground, who embraces the discomfort, he wields patience like a weapon. And in doing so, he becomes untouchable. She expects men to chase, to plead, to collapse. She does not expect a man to vanish into strength, to remain silent while she unravels. That is why it terrifies her. That is why she begins to miss you, not casually, but deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote that, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Likewise, the greatest victory is not to play her game, not to break the silence, not to beg for what should come freely. The victory is to stand so firm in patience that her longing grows beyond her control. When you wield silence with discipline, you do not just make her miss you, you make her question if she ever truly understood you. And that doubt is more powerful than any words you could speak. Eventually, if your silence holds long enough, the balance shifts. Her curiosity turns to unease, unease turns to longing, and longing turns into action. She reaches out. Maybe it's a simple message, disguised as casual. "Hey, how have you been?" Or perhaps it's more subtle, a like on an old picture, a sudden appearance in places she knows you'll see her. Do not be fooled. None of this is accidental. It is her way of breaking the silence she once celebrated, of testing whether the fortress you built is real or an illusion. Most men fail at this exact moment. They respond too eagerly. They unleash the flood they've been holding back, drowning her in attention, undoing the very mystery that drew her back. And instantly the power shifts once more. She realizes you were waiting all along, and the longing that once burned inside her fades like smoke in the wind. This is the trap. The moment you think you've won is often the moment you lose. The Stoic man, however, responds differently. He does not leap, he does not collapse. He remains centered. He understands that her reaching out is not the end of the journey, but a test of his resolve. If you answer, answer with calm. No bitterness, no desperation, no need to prove. Your words should reflect the man you have become, not the man she remembers. Speak little, reveal nothing unnecessary, and above all, remain unmoved. For her to miss you truly, she must feel that you did not spend your silence waiting for her return, but living your life as if her absence was irrelevant. And if she tries harder, If she pushes for more, do not reward her with instant validation. Hold your ground, engage with patience, but keep your distance. The man who cannot be rushed, who cannot be swayed by sudden affection, is the man she cannot forget. That is the essence of Stoicism applied to the heart. Indifference to fleeting pleasures, commitment to higher principles. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." She will test your silence like those waves. If you remain firm, she will not only miss you, she will respect you. And respect is the foundation of any bond worth keeping. Now listen closely, because this is where truth cuts deepest. You came here asking, when does she start missing me for real? And I have shown you, the moment is not when you chase, not when you beg, not even when you wait with hope. It begins only when you vanish with strength, when you master your silence, when you live as if her absence has no power over you. Then, and only then, will she feel the shadow of your memory haunting her quiet hours. Then her longing will take root. But here is the greater truth, the one most men are too afraid to face. Her missing you is not the prize. It is a symptom, a reflection, a byproduct of who you become when you detach from needing her at all. The Stoics never sought control over others, they sought mastery over themselves. And that is the path before you now. If your goal is to make her miss you, you have already lost, because your spirit is still chained to her recognition. But if your goal is to build a life so strong, so steady, so filled with purpose that her memory fades in its shadow, then you have won, whether she longs for you or not. Imagine the man who does not wait by the phone, who does not scroll through her pictures, who does not bend his soul to the tides of her attention. Imagine the man who rises at dawn to sharpen his body, who pours his energy into creation, who builds, who leads, who conquers his own mind. That man does not wonder if she misses him, because he has no need to be missed. He is already complete. And ironically, it is this very completeness that makes him unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stop asking when she will miss you. Ask instead, when will I finally become the man who no longer cares if she does? That is the transformation. That is the freedom. And when you walk this path with discipline, something miraculous happens. She will miss you, not because you forced her to, but because the man you have become is impossible to erase. And brother, that is the only kind of missing that matters.